Just a quick programming note before we get started. We'd like to apologize for not dropping this episode last Wednesday. We had some technical difficulties we've been working through, and because of that, some of the episode was cut due to timeliness. Thanks to all of our faithful listeners out there. We appreciate your support, and we'll be back on our regular schedule starting this Wednesday. And now, here's the episode. Hello and welcome to another edition of VIBELAND Sports, episode 17. I'm Casady Fletcher, joined by Kelby Peterson. What's up, Kelby?
Oh, not much, Casady. Room feels a little empty and different tonight, but I think we'll push through.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, Todd Miller, our normal host, unable to be here this week, and we'll see him again next Wednesday. The next time we drop. And if you're not already, make sure you are subscribed to VIBELAND Sports, either on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Also, follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at VIBELAND Sports. Just search that and you'll find us just about everywhere. With that, let's get into our topics this week. And is there really anything else we could be talking about, Kelby?
Yeah, what happened this week? Was there something that happened this weekend that was a big sporting event anybody talked about? I was out fishing on a lake, I'll be honest, but what did I miss?
Tiger Woods, y'all. He is back. I think
all the way back.
Yeah, there's no question at this point. That was an incredible victory. He won the Masters. For anyone out there that somehow is listening to a sports podcast that doesn't know that Tiger Woods won the Masters on Sunday, he was able to hold off the field by one stroke, had a two-stroke lead going into the 18th hole, knew exactly what he had to do, made the easiest bogey of his life, and was crowned champion at a major for the first time since 2008, and he wins his first green jacket since 2005, Kelby.
I can't believe it. 14 years between green jackets, 11 years between majors. Casady, you said earlier that was the longest stretch between Masters wins. No, sorry, not that stretch, but the Tigers' first win in 1997. 1997 to 2019, that 22-year gap is the largest gap between wins in the major sports. And like Casady, you said this earlier before we sat down, you just started yelling, Tiger's the GOAT. And we had a poll earlier this year.
That's right.
He was in the poll. He absolutely was. And I kind of thought like he was kind of the throw-in there. And I voted for Tom Brady after the Super Bowl, but it might have been recency bias. And again, same fact here. It might be recency bias, but we got to talk about it today. Is Tiger the GOAT? That was a GOAT performance. That was the guttiest thing. I mean, the event itself, he didn't gut out. I mean, it was a great win. Don't get me wrong, but the whole journey to get here is one of the guttiest things I have ever seen. Is there a better comeback in the history of sports than Tiger Woods from this injury, from his past, from all the bad stuff? I would almost said allegations. They weren't allegations. From everything bad that happened to Tiger, for him to come back and win this way when everybody counted him down and out. I heard the story today in 2017. He told other golfers he's done. Tiger Woods thought he was done. At the 2017 Masters dinner, he had to take an extreme pain medication to be able to sit at the table with these golfers. Not just play golf, but to sit down in a chair. He had to be on extreme pain medication.
He had his spine fused together. Like, he has had some serious surgeries on his back and knees.
And, I mean, guys have had torn ACLs and, Tommy John surgery. There's major injuries in other sports, but I would argue to come back from a back injury in any sport, golf especially, it's unreal, unbelievable, and he's the GOAT. And it was just so, how good is this for golf? I mean, everybody's fired up. I got to tell the story. I want to hear your story of where you're at, because everybody's got a story. So, like I said, I was fishing in a kayak fishing tournament this weekend. I was actually supposed to fish on Saturday. I was really looking forward to sitting down Sunday and watching the Masters all day. But weather postponed it, so they moved it to Sunday. So I'm on the water, and I had kind of, like you, had kind of forgotten that it was going to be an early start. And so I'm out there paddling, and I get an alert on my phone. It says, hey, he's 2 holes away, and he's got a 2-stroke lead. And I was like, no way. One, it's so early in the day, but two, it's going to happen. No way. That's unreal. So I put the headphones on, start streaming immediately, got to listen to it because I'm out fishing in a tournament. So I got to keep the eyes on the water and for safety reasons. But anyway, so a guy paddles up next to me and we just start shooting the breeze a little bit, talking fishing, talking about the weather. And then I point to my ears and I've got headphones in and I say, hey, you don't happen to be a golf fan, do you? And his face freezes and he looks at me and he goes, did he do it? I just said, are you a golf fan? He just said, did he do it? And I said, yes, he's putting right now to win the Masters. Tiger Woods is about to win the Masters. And this dude, complete stranger to me, never saw him again, on a lake in the middle of Broken Bow, Oklahoma, on the water in a kayak. This dude goes, yes, and just starts fist pumping. And it was just like a cool sporting moment to be a part of. And I felt like I had a really outside perspective on this. Everybody else pumping their fists, watching it on TV, watching it at the Masters, being here in Oklahoma, getting to see some local broadcasters and some coworkers I know that got to go and be a part of it and just said what an insane atmosphere it was, and like hands down the best sporting event. I just got to give it up to Tiger Woods, to golf. It's back. I want to hear your side.
Oh, man, it was, for those that don't know, I think I've said this probably every time that Tiger Woods has been brought up, but he is one of my favorite athletes of all time. What he did on the golf course changed golf.
I got to interrupt you for a second because there are two, I think, there's multiple types of Tiger fans, but there's one like Casady, and that you never gave up on Tiger. I was a big Tiger fan. He's great for golf, but I'll be honest, I didn't say, hey, he's done, he's never got a chance, but I was on the side of thinking it was less likely to happen than not. And you were on the side, you never lost faith, you never wavered, so this has got to be great vindication for you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to point that out. This moment is especially great for you, so I want to hear about it.
Hey, thank you. And yes, I have no shame about it. I am 100% rooting for Tiger, everything he does. I love the way that he plays the game. And like you're saying, Kelby, he has started to turn the corner a little bit these last few years. And really last year, the last couple majors of the year, he was competing in the top 10 or had a lead in the final round in both of those tournaments. And then coming into the Masters, was not putting all that great. That's why I said, look, I think he's going to be near the top of the leaderboard at some point in the 4-day span. I think you're going to have to contend with Tiger Woods. I just didn't think that he was going to break out the way that he did. I watched almost every second of his rounds on rounds 1, 2, and 3. I wasn't watching the CBS feed, not the live coverage feed. I was watching the featured groups. And so it was only on Thursday and Friday, he was one of 6 different golfers that I watched. And on Saturday, he was one of 4 golfers that I watched the entire day. And so just watching him go through everything that he did and watching him attack that course and to come to the very end and know exactly what he had to do. You could tell it looked like demons were being released out of that man's soul as soon as he knocked that ball into the bottom of the cup. That was one of the most pure outbursts of joy I've ever seen from anyone in my life. And it just, man, congratulations to Tiger Woods, because that is what I never thought I would see somebody go through the journey that he did, where someone is by far the best in the sport, maybe who's ever played their sport, go all the way down to, like you're saying, couldn't even sit down without taking pain medication, to come back and find a way to win in the biggest major of the year at the Masters. Come on. That's even Hollywood would probably.
That can't be written.
Sorry. Yeah. It wouldn't be 11 years between.
Right.
It doesn't seem too.
It's too long.
Right. It doesn't seem realistic.
It's too long for a movie. You're right. It's too long for a movie. It's unbelievable.
It's too good.
But that celebration I want to talk about too is that yell that he did. And again, watching it and listening to it, the coverage, I loved that the announcers didn't jump in and try to talk over it and have some corny moment. It was just, they went quiet and just let the crowd roar, and listening to it, not being able to watch it, I could still tell what was going on. I could tell that he was going to the crowd and the crowd was firing him up. Then you could tell when he found his family and other golfers, the exuberance, the exuberance, the joy, the screaming, the guttural joy. And you could just hear Tiger, like the excitement, like sounded like a little girl at some point. Like, like he got real high pitched. It was awesome to hear that. Just like, oh man, that was probably it's got to be the top moment of his life.
Oh my goodness.
For people who are there, that is a sports memory that you will never, ever forget. That's once in a lifetime moment that we got to witness. And so cool to see that, just the whole story. I'm just so impressed.
The chants of Tiger that just immediately broke out after.
Absolutely. The Tiger chants were back. The fist pump was back.
Gosh.
It was all back. And then I'm loving the shots that we're seeing of 97.
Oh, man.
Tiger hugging his dad. And this tournament, he's hugging his son. Just the full circle of Tiger Woods and 22 years between a major. It's just such an awesome walk and circle of life. And what a great comeback.
And I'm not going to lie, watching that happen live, I'm jumping up and down. I'm fist pumping in my own house. I'm looking for somebody to chest bump or high five. And then seeing him come up right past the green on his way to turn in his card, and right there, exactly the same spot where he hugged his father after his first Masters win, and is just too poetic. And his son jumped up and gave him a big bear hug. And I don't know who started chopping onions in the house, but it was real misty in here. And I'm telling you, it was a great moment, not only for, I think, just sports in general, but for just humans, to show that this is what someone can go through, no matter how far you fall from grace. Doesn't matter who counts you out. Doesn't matter how far that you fall on any kind of ranking, or even just in your own mind, you are never out of it until the very end. And it's a great comeback story and an unbelievably inspirational story. And heck, I could talk about what Tiger Woods has done for the game and for just my own personal fandom and enjoyment as a sports fan for 3 hours. But I just thought that was one of the best moments of really watching sports that I can remember in a very long time.
So we've talked about the comeback. We've covered that pretty well. Now I want to talk about the actual golf that was played, and the factor that we were talking about earlier. Tiger Woods, when he was a dominant force, there was intimidation. When you played against Tiger, he was an intimidating factor out on that course. Other guys don't play well when they play next to Tiger, and that has not been a factor in years. These young guys that have come in have never had to deal with that. Like Rory McIlroy, he really hasn't had to deal with that. Jordan Spieth really hasn't had to deal with vintage Tiger, and it happened on Sunday. I want you to tell the listeners the stat that you told me about the guys that played with Tiger.
So, of the top 10 heading into Sunday in terms of total where they were on the leaderboard, everyone on that board shot under par on Sunday except for two people, and they were the two guys playing next to Tiger
on Masters Sunday.
Well,
he's in the red and black.
Yes,
it's back, baby.
Tony Finau shoots even. Francesco Molinari shoots 2 over after he hadn't had a bogey in 3 days. He had a double. He just completely, the wheels fell off. I mean, it was amazing to watch. Those guys could not handle the pressure of a full force Tiger Woods in your face. Everyone started dumping it in the water on 12. I was looking around like, I can't, is this really happening?
Right.
Like, this is going to happen.
This is the Tiger moment. The intimidation is back. Tiger is back in full effect, baby. And he's won the tournament. The intimidation is back.
And the thing is, even these young guys that may not have had to deal with seeing Tiger at his prime, they watched enough tournaments growing up when they were younger. Heck, most of those guys, probably the reason they're playing the sport is because of Tiger Woods. And so they know exactly what those big roars behind them mean. And they know that there's only one person on the planet that could generate the roars that he's doing. And you're sitting there watching him climb up the leaderboard or just stay right there at the top and staring at Tiger Woods' name at the top of the leaderboard all day. I don't care. It does something to everyone's psyche because they've seen him do it over and
you saw
over.
the joy from the other players
15
that were
times.
right, and you saw the joy from the other players that were waiting for him too. So it was, I mean, part of it's intimidation, but the other part is respect that the other golfers were there, just excited and ready to celebrate with him and for him. It's great for the sport when Tiger's back, but I hope it's real and I hope it's a real intimidation. Let's be honest. I want to temper the expectations a little bit. Tiger's 42. It's not going to be what it was, but man, it was great to have a taste of it again on Sunday.
And we've been talking about it for a few weeks now, but the major tournament schedule does set up very well.
I wanted to give you and Todd props. You guys had both mentioned that on this podcast this year. You had said it. If both of you guys on this podcast, listen back to old episodes, guys, Todd and Casady said, if this year for Tiger lines up well to be a year where he can win a major, it's like the Masters. Go back and listen to it. I'm quoting Todd verbatim because the schedule, the way he's taking breaks when he needs to recover that back and stay well. It's like I don't want to say it, but you guys called it.
Pebble Beach and Bethpage Black. I mean,
those are the courses that he performs well at. Again,
he tears them up.
Tiger Slam?
I'm not saying Tiger Slam, but I'm saying Tiger Slam.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I mean, right now, Tiger Woods is on pace to win all 4 majors.
Yeah.
So that's just statistically true.
Cassidy's an on-pace guy. So
right. So, I mean, we've had 1 major in 2019. He's won that major.
Right.
So obviously.
Stats don't lie.
Right. So expect Tiger for the clean sweep. Thanks to everyone who voted in our VIBELAND Sports Twitter poll, the fan poll of the week. It was, what is your favorite event during the best season in sports? NCAA tournament, the Masters, NBA/NHL playoffs, or the MLB season beginning. And the NCAA tournament edged out the Masters. 35% for the NCAA basketball tournament, 27% said the Masters, 22% the NBA and NHL playoffs, and just 16% said the MLB season begins. But I wonder how many of those votes that were later said the Masters over NCAA.
Recency bias. But again, that's a pretty close vote. And the reason we asked this question, there was no right or wrong answer.
That's right.
I kind of want to just gauge our listeners. Okay, who's our golf fans? How many golf fans are there? How many NCAA basketball fans are there? How many NBA, NHL fans, how many baseball fans? So I was just kind of curious to gauge the range of listeners that we have. So interesting to see that it was pretty close. So cool to hear, guys. Thanks for the feedback.
Coming up in our next segment, we are going to sit down with LaDarren Landrum. He has an incredible story, and he is a U.S. Olympic hopeful. He's training right here in Oklahoma City. And his story from where he was 4 years ago to now,
unbelievable.
It's crazy. I mean, this guy has been through it all. Suffer through my interview skills on that to listen to what he has to say. It's incredible. And we also got to talk with his coach, Coach Reilly Dampeer. She was phenomenal as well, talking about what all she's able to do there at the Oklahoma City boathouse in the River District and everything going on there. So we're going to kick it over to LaDarren Landrum and Coach Reilly Dampeer coming up right after this. Welcome back to VIBELAND Sports. Today we are joined by a couple of very special guests. We've got LaDarren Landrum and Reilly Dampeer. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Great.
Both involved in the USRowing program. Reilly, as a coach, what drew you to the sport of rowing, and how have you been able to impact others through your passion of just loving to row?
Wow, that's a big one. There's a lot to talk about there. I was drawn to the sport primarily because I thought it really went with my personality. I was certainly in college more of an introvert and really driven to do my best, and not a lot of interaction. Just tell me what to do and I'm going to work my hardest to get that job done. But the unique aspect of being in a team boat with 8 other people is that you can have that kind of personality. You can be driven and self-motivated, and then trying to sync that up with 8 other people. Man, it was really cool and really exciting for me when I got started in college. So I fell in love with it right away. And now as a coach, so many years later, I'm really hoping to, with my passion for the sport, continue to influence athletes to do their best and be so self-motivated to go after the highest achievement in our sport, which is the Olympic podium. And that's what I come out every day to do.
That's fantastic. And LaDarren, you had a different path to rowing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're in the Marine Corps before that. Can you tell us what that experience was like, and what drew you to the Marines instead of trying to pursue a sport, deciding to go into the armed forces?
Well, sports just didn't work out for me growing up. I was never a part of any team sports until joining the Marine Corps. But I guess what drew me to the Marine Corps was the way the recruiter approached me, and the space that I was in at the time that he did. I'm a person that's really not against sales, but where I grew up, I'm gonna just keep it 100. Like I'm around a lot of hustlers, and that's kind of how I viewed armed forces recruiters, from the jump. And the way he approached me about joining was, it might have been, just a good way of hustling. But he asked me to be his workout partner. That was like off the cuff. That's what he said. He was like, "Hey man, you look like you're in pretty good shape. I need somebody to run with me, to kind of keep me motivated." And I was homeless at the time, so whatever would help take my mind off of that problem I was facing, I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we had started running like up to about 6 miles 2 or 3 times out of the week. And before that, I had never ran distance before in my life. But I rode a bicycle to and from work everywhere I had to go. I rode a bicycle, so I guess I was just ready. And he was kind of surprised that I was sticking with him the whole time. And, just from week to week, we got more competitive about it, just trying to beat each other out. And then, I guess this was like his hustler moment. He was like, man, like, why don't I just test you out? Just put you through the initial strength test that Marine Corps recruits have to go through to even be considered to go to boot camp. So he put me through the test, and I smoked it. And he was like, what are you waiting on? Why not do it? And like I said, I was homeless. So I was like, yeah, well, why not? I don't have anything else going on. And yeah, in a nutshell, that was pretty much it. I went from the street to the Marine Corps.
And then from the Marine Corps, you competed in the next Olympic hopeful. Can you tell us a little bit about what that program was like, and how you were actually able to compete in the next Olympic hopeful? Did you sign up for that, or did someone come to you and ask if you wanted to participate?
Well, yes. In season 1, I was living in Myrtle Beach at the time, and the head coach of the U.S. men's bobsled team lives in Myrtle Beach as well, and he goes to the gym that I went to when I was there. We went to the same gym, and he just came to me one day and was like, "Hey man, you got some natural explosion. Have you ever thought about being a bobsledder?" And I was like, "What the hell is a bobsled?" And he was like, "Well," he referenced the movie that everybody knows. And I saw it when I was a kid, but at the time I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't remember it. And it just so happened to be on Netflix. So I went home and I watched the movie, and I was like, man, yeah, that looked like that would be fun. So I went and watched the movie, and I came back to him the next day, and I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. He was like, good. I bought you a ticket to Colorado Springs to compete in he called it a combine, like a scouting camp type thing. I didn't know it was going to be televised. I didn't know none of that until I got there.
Oh, wow.
And growing up, like I didn't grow up watching the Olympics. Like it was never like a big deal for me. But I know who Michael Phelps is. Like everybody, even where I'm from, like we don't talk about the Olympics, but we know who Michael Phelps is. And it just so happened that when I got to Colorado Springs the first day, the cleaning lady told me that I was staying in the same room as Michael Phelps when he first came to the training center. And it was like that just kind of put it in perspective for me. It was like, oh, well, dang,
Jeez.
this is where he was when he first came here, and that's where I am. I just kind of felt equal to him. I was like, I guess I could do what he did. But at the time, I didn't have any specific training. I was just kind of training on my own. And I competed, and I was the runner-up for bobsled that year for the first season. And I don't know, that just kind of lit a fire, and I was like, I'm coming back next year. If I can get that far without any specific training, I'm going to train specifically for this, and come back and win it all.
And so how did you transition from bobsled to rowing then?
I haven't yet. I'm still transitioning. I'm still transitioning. It's been a journey for sure, but I've only been doing it for 4 months. I mean, like full time for 4 months, and then there are people that put 4 years into the sport and still have things to get right. That's just one of the things about rowing, and it took me almost 4 months to become a Marine. So I'm like, I know I got to put more time into a sport like rowing to especially to compete at the Olympic level for sure. Being a Marine, I just had to be tough. And now, like I said, I came from the street. I was homeless. I was already that. So adding my physical fitness, that's all I really had to work on. But with rowing, it's mentally tough, physical fitness, but there's so many other little things that go into it, especially trying to compete at the Olympic level. So yeah, so I'm still transitioning. I'm not there yet. We're working on it.
Well, LaDarren too was picked basically at this next Olympic hopeful scouting camp, both by bobsled and rowing.
Yeah.
So LD, maybe talk a little bit like what, are you working on both or?
Yes, I am still training for bobsled, so that's why the transition is definitely taking a little longer than we would like. I'm just trying to maintain a certain level of explosion, which helps also in the boat. It's just about putting the finesse to it, because in bobsled it's just brute explosion, like just 5 seconds of explosion, then enjoy the ride. But with rowing, it's constant explosion, like constant, just that endurance and explosion put together for 2,000 meters. And in training, it's much, much longer than 2,000 meters every day. So, yeah, for sure. We're still making that transition, though.
And Coach Dampeer, can you speak a little bit about what the training involves for the sport of rowing, and what you're looking for to help these athletes become better rowers?
Right. So it's as LaDarren said, it's definitely a combination of explosiveness and your ability to maintain that for potentially 6 or 7 minutes. So significantly different time scale than bobsled. So you have to use that quickness, and then also just train your muscles to do it for a very long period of time. And that's a really tough place to be. In terms of, strain on your body, rowing is really right up there as one of the hardest sports to do, because it's your full body. There's no timeouts. There's absolutely no breaks, and you're on for again up to 7 minutes at a time. So, what we're trying to do here is build that high level of endurance and match it with quickness, explosiveness, and power. So we're looking at VO2s. We test the athletes every quarter for their ability to process oxygen is extremely valuable. So we're trying to improve that every quarter. And they're in the weight room 3 times a week. In addition to that, doing both, strength building and strength endurance. So it's everything. I mean, honestly, there's no areas that we can leave out here. We got to attack everything from the endurance side to the just that top end speed side. So what I'm looking to do here is improve that VO2, but also develop the skills necessary for our sport. So a lot of the training as well in the mornings when they're on the water is focused around skill development and understanding the technique and optimizing their bodies, to move a boat as fast as possible.
And you work at the Oklahoma City High Performance Center. What is that facility like? And are you able to do everything you were just talking about right there at that facility?
Pretty much. Yes, pretty much. It's a fantastic facility. It's truly the reason I moved here. I've only been coaching here in Oklahoma City for 3 years, and I had come from a different program on the East Coast, and really the resources here are unmatched for any other place in the country where rowing is available. So it's incredible. We can do everything here. We work with University of Central Oklahoma for the VO2 testing. We do it at their lab up there on campus, but otherwise everything else can be done right here at the training center. It's really an incredible facility.
I've been out there and seen a little bit of it, but haven't got to see the full thing. It looks like it is just an amazing facility out there, and it's crazy that it's right here in the Oklahoma City.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you're welcome to come out anytime.
Hey, I'll take you up on that. LaDarren, you were training in Colorado Springs, and now have you fully made the transition to Oklahoma City? Are you training in both?
Yes. I'm living in Oklahoma City. I still have my coaches, checking in on me for bobsled and stuff like that. But I really wanted to for an athlete like me, bobsled comes easy and natural. So I don't have to be there to do that. All I really have to do is maintain a certain level of power, and being a rower definitely helps being able to maintain that. It's just how much of that power you're putting out at a certain amount of time. With rowing, it's very strategic and methodical over, like Coach Reilly said, over 6 to 7 minutes. But with bobsled, it's all out for 5 seconds. Everything you got for 5 seconds, and then you just enjoy a ride. But for both, they require a lot of time and attention, obviously, at the Olympic level. But I'm living here in Oklahoma City now, full time.
And what was it like getting in the water that first time? The first experience you had as a rower?
I mean, it was just like joining the Marine Corps. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was getting into. And, I like to say that rowing, especially the first time getting on the water, is a phenomenal representation of what life is. It doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter if you got a 2-parent background or a single-parent background, if you come from money and privilege or you come from the struggle. Once you get out on that water and that boat, it's unstable, and it's up to you to find the balance and keep it.
And Coach Reilly, you're also involved in the U.S. Olympic Committee National Team Coach Leadership and Education Program.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that and what all you do to help other coaches out around the country?
Sure. Well, the program is designed to address the podium from creating better coaches, right? So we're getting better athletes, certainly with the help of better coaches. So the program was really started for that, end goal. Let's get more gold medals out of the United States. We improve resources to the athletes. One of those resources, of course, is the coaches. So let's make better coaches for our athletes. So I had to apply for the program. My national governing body, USRowing, had to nominate me. So it's quite rigorous, and it's really designed for top coaches in the country, national team coaches, some of whom have already won numerous medals within their sport. And so I was really just honored to be a part of the program. So it's not that I'm teaching coaches as of yet. I am still learning, really, and working with these other coaches. We do a lot of, projects and workshops, and we're given the opportunity to work with different resources in so many different areas from around the world. Really, we have a lot of people that come in with different organizations, really to make us all that much better. So it's not as much that I'm a coach's coach in that way for the USOC, but I am very much still a student of coaching, as we all are, and trying to, of course, be better for our athletes, and hopefully that yields more gold medals at the end of the day.
You guys, before we started recording, said that you've already been out training today. And for our listeners out there, we're recording this. It's before 10 a.m. And you guys said you've already had half your day gone by. So, LaDarren, I'll start with you. Can you take us through a typical day? What's it like being an Olympian and going through your training?
I wouldn't necessarily know what it's like being an Olympian. I haven't made it that far yet. But as far as training like an Olympian, we're up. Well, I'm up specifically at 4:30 a.m. Because I like to be up 2 hours before our first session starts. I have a service animal that I have to take care of. I like to give myself that 2-hour window to make sure she's good to go. Sometimes she wakes up sick or whatever, so I like to have that window and to get a little breakfast in, not my major breakfast before the first session, but a good breakfast in, nice sized breakfast, and just get my mind right for the session for sure. And I think that's just important for somebody that's just now coming into the sport, because it's so easy to just be like, every day, like, what am I doing here? Because, like I said, when you get on the water, it's never comfortable, especially for somebody heavy like me, man. Like, getting in there, I'm telling you, it's always uncomfortable. If something's going numb, something's locking up, it's just like, it's always something. And I was telling Coach before we got on this call, it's just like, I had to have a sit down with myself this past week and just like really say, hey, man, like, every single week there's been like a day where you just been like, man, you just can't train today, or you feel like you can't train today. And it was like, I made a decision this week. It was like, I don't, even when I have that day, and it's already happened this week, but when I have that day, I'm just gonna get up and walk out the door and go anyway. Because, and that's the tough thing about transitioning from a Marine to an athlete, is because you have to listen to your body as an athlete. You have to figure out, what exactly your body's going through. And as a Marine, it doesn't really matter, because at that point, it's life or death. Your physical fitness and your mental fitness will determine whether you live or die, or the person next to you lives or dies. So it really doesn't matter how uncomfortable you are. You just kind of have to suck it up. And it's like finding that balance between that mentality and being a high performance athlete is definitely something I have to not necessarily battle, but have to deal with every single day. But to answer your question, yeah, I typically at 4:30 in the morning, and I have a job too, so I'm going, all day from 4:30 to about 10:30 at night. I'm going.
Wow.
So yeah.
So very, very full day.
Yeah, absolutely.
No time for hardly even any rest for you. So
no, not really.
Coach Reilly, same question to you. What does a typical day look like for you working at the High Performance Center and helping train rowers?
Yep, same thing. Start pretty early in the morning. Our training sessions start at 6:15 in the morning or 6:45, depending on the day of the week. So I'm down here before that, getting the session prepared, and then we're usually about 2.5 hours training session, and then after that I get into the program management side of my job, which is preparing, again, based on the training session, doing some summary of that training session and preparing again for the next training session that we'll have. and then also doing the recruiting I need to do, and making sure that these guys have the resources that they need for performance. So that's usually another 6 to 7 hours a day. And then in the afternoons, there are many days where I coach younger athletes, developing athletes that I hope to see, on my roster in a few years. They're high school students, and eventually in the podium. So I'm doing longer term development as well as short term development for Tokyo and Paris. And then I try and get a little workout in myself even, which happens some days. But it's a long day. There's so many parts of the puzzle, right, to get an athlete prepared for the Olympics. And I try and, provide as many of the resources as possible to these athletes. So that includes, that we have a training table, which means we have food delivery a couple times a week. So sometimes that definitely requires some management, make sure that they've got the right stuff and it's all good for them, and good fuel for the athletes. Among other things, as I said, the VO2 testing. So there's a lot of behind the scenes management so that we get the most for these athletes.
And LaDarren, what is something that you would tell someone that might be listening to this that they're not sure what they want to do, but they might have an Olympic dream? What would you tell that person that may be on the fence about whether or not they want to fully go through with this?
On the fence, man. There's no point in being on the fence. Get over it. Get over the fence immediately. Even if you don't know what to do something. Even when like I said, when I was in Myrtle, and this was post active duty Marine Corps. This is when I first joined the reserves. I was in Myrtle, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after being a Marine. That's all I really knew. But I did know that I know training. I know how to take a body and make it deadly, for lack of a better word. So that's kind of what I dabbled in, was just like, I like to call it killing doubts for a living. I think most people just doubt themselves, and they need somebody to believe in them, and that's what this program and the next Olympic hopeful and everything, and the Marine Corps especially, did for me. So I just feel like being that individual for a lot of people. Just a day-to-day person working a 9-to-5, or a kid pursuing a high school sport or something like that. Just being that person to help them achieve that goal. And that's kind of why I became a trainer too, because I know what just being physically fit could do for you. Like I said, at some point in your career as a Marine, physical fitness will determine whether you live or die. But even before that, fitness was my escape off the street. It was my positive outlet. Because in a headspace like that, a lot of people, as you could probably see, turn to drugs and alcohol abuse. And I just didn't want to be that person. So I started training, and I didn't really have a reason to try. I wasn't training for a sport. It definitely wasn't that. It was just kind of training for life, to keep my mind occupied. And it turned into becoming Team USA's next Olympic hopeful. So definitely tell them to keep training. B, every opportunity that comes up, take it, for sure. Every opportunity, and not just waiting on them to come around. Sometimes you have to create the perfect opportunity, right? So when that coach came to me and approached me in the gym, and he said, "You have some natural explosion. What do you think about bobsled?" I could have been like, "This guy's full of it," whatever. But I did what he said. I went home and watched the movie and came back the next day and told him, "Hey, man, I'll do it. Why not?" And like I said, I didn't have any type of sports background, but I was like, "Yo, I'll do it," and then became a runner-up with no specific training. And then 1 year later, with specific training to one sport, I got selected for 2. So
that's quite the improvement there, I would say, and looking forward to seeing you hopefully get a chance to compete at the Olympic Games coming up.
It'll happen.
Heck
yes.
Like to see you on both in the winter and the summer games.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Coach Reilly, you mentioned that you help train younger athletes there at the Oklahoma City High Performance Center. What's the most satisfying part of your job, being around all these athletes and training them for the Olympics?
Oh man, all of it. I tell you what, I'm very grateful for being able to be here and making this my job. It's extremely challenging, as I'm sure you can imagine, and it certainly isn't an easy job at all. But every day I just look up at the sunrise, look at the horizon, and I'm so grateful for my position here and the opportunity to work with these athletes. I mean, right? What an incredible experience to have people come to you and say, you're going to help me get to the Olympic podium. I mean, that's really exciting, really exciting. And if people are crazy enough to say that, I'm in. Let's do it. And so it's extremely rewarding just from start to finish, working with athletes, the younger athletes who are raw, and you just see that one spark of understanding for a technical improvement. It's just so cool to watch it happen right in front of you. And it happens maybe less frequently for the top end athletes, right? Their improvements are much smaller in scale, much more marginal, but nonetheless, just as important to their success. So any small improvement is just a huge win for me, even if that's just one athlete. But if I can get one athlete to see some improvement every day, I'm thrilled. I mean, it's just really exciting to see that.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking time to speak with us here at VIBELAND Sports, and best of luck to you both in everything that you're going to be doing, and hopefully going to bring back some medals back to the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much. And again, if you ever want to come down to the river and see what we're up to, you're welcome to.
Yeah, come check us out.
We will definitely be there. LaDarren Landrum and Coach Reilly Dampeer, thank you so much. We're going to be right back to wrap it up right after this. With that, that's going to do it for our show. For Kelby, I am Casady. This has been VIBELAND Sports, episode 17. Thanks for listening.